Optimum Ag is your powerhouse team, providing quality products and agronomy services, like precision planting parts and service, fertilizer, chemical, and seed, plus custom planting, spraying, spreading, and combining. Optimum Ag, your full agronomy service center and precision planting dealer. Plant with the best and make this season a success with Optimum Ag, Minot, and Kenmare.
These small towns, they can have what they have just because of the lignite industry.
People who start out as my students have become my colleagues.
Lignite has provided cost-effective base load generation for us for many years.
I'm Casey Helling.
My name is Holly Birch.
I'm an operations shift supervisor at Coyote Station.
Manager of Communications and IT at Capital Electric Cooperative.
I am faculty here at Bismarck State College in the energy program.
And I am Lignite.
Here it is.
All right, 12:30 now, and we welcome in each and every Monday at this time. It's in the Crosshairs with my guys, JD and Clay. Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you?
Great, Jay.
Good. How we doing, Jay? Nice hat, by the way.
Yeah,
Hey, thank you very much. I do too. I hope you guys had a great Independence Day weekend and everything.
Yeah.
You got all 10 of these bad boys?
yeah.
All right.
I love fireworks, but I kind of stay away from them. I had a pretty bad accident a few years ago, so you know what? I just enjoy them. I don't shoot them off anyway.
You know, I like watching them too, Clay. I like watching them, but I stay away from them as well. So you can spend a lot of money on those things.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Some people make a lot of money, Jay. When I watch some of these displays, I'm like, man, I don't know where you work or what you did, but you got a lot of extra money for stuff.
You sure do. Yep, exactly. Well, we've got a lot of topics to cover each and every week. We usually get to about 3 or 4 topics, and this week we're starting right off the top. This is a big one, too. Massachusetts, the Commonwealth, now is proposing an unprecedented sweeping gun control amendment, HD 4420, in which now they're describing as, quote, an act to modernize firearm laws, end quote. Now, essentially what they're doing now here, JD, is they're rewriting gun laws in the Commonwealth, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. And as far as modernizing firearms laws, Jay, I've always said leftists think the Constitution and Bill of Rights are outdated pieces of toilet paper that don't pertain to modern times, and they're proving my theory here correct. Unless on a rare occasion that it helps them. But so HD 4420 is going to institute a broad assault weapons ban, including firearms already owned. So if you already got them, guess what? They're going to make you, I think Clay might know a little more about this part, but I think if you're not going to be able to keep them, I think they're going to force quote buyback. I don't know how you buy back something you never owned, I guess, but and bans all federally legally tax stamped fully automatic firearms. A lot of people, including Joe Biden, doesn't think you can own them, but you can. You can get a Class 3 license for them, and you can own them. It's guns ban on possession of any gun, loaded or unloaded, on state, county, municipal buildings, all polling places, any private property, unless the owner provided express consent or has posted signage allowing firearms on their property, and mandates safe storage laws, which I don't think are very safe. Mandates new training, including costly written exams and live fire training. So, they kind of price people out of using their rights, which is ridiculous. Registration of all guns and feeding devices. So feeding devices, if anybody doesn't know, that's a magazine, that detachable magazine. They're not specifying any round count in there. Just if you got a detachable magazine, guess what? You have to register it.
And I got to add a little to that.
Yeah, go for it, Clay.
I went and, here's part of it. I went and, you can see my highlights on everything. I went and read through the whole thing, but that detachable part of it, it's not just a magazine. It looks like it could be a clip, or it could be an extended tube on a shotgun. It's technically classified because it's capable of being detached. And that's everything's in the wording, and these guys worded this so that it's pretty broad, open-ended, and it pretty much make everything illegal.
Yeah, if we wanted to get super in detail on this, it would take all of our time up here with Jay.
Yeah, we could do the whole
I'll go on here. We got a few more. Mandates reporting any modifications or new parts to a gun. So if you want to put a new stock on your gun, you're supposed to report it. A new pistol grip on your AR or whatever. This is ridiculous stuff. Yeah. And you got to serialize all firearm parts. Any parts you put on your gun has to have a serial number on it. And now we're getting into these next couple ones are really ridiculous as far as that's super unconstitutional. Bans anyone under 21 from acquiring or carrying any semi-automatic rifle or shotgun. And then this one bans anyone under 15 taking part in shooting sports or training. So I thought they were all about safety, these anti-gunners. Everything's got to be safe. You should be trained, but I guess if you're under 15, no, you shouldn't be. See, they're trying to change the mindset of people and get them out of wanting to own guns, and that it goes way back to Eric Holder trying to say that.
You know why they put that in there, don't you, Jamie? Because then that would also take the hunting aspect out. And as we all know, like my kids and yours have all been hunting at the age of 12, and some states even a little bit sooner. So they want to form that mindset. They figure at 15 they can get away with getting that through, and you already take out 3 years or plus of hunting and exposure to firearms, and that's what this is about.
Yeah, yep. And the last one, Clay, place new mandates, protocols, and training requirements on retailers. So I think on our podcast or live stream there, we went over what these, or it might have, they run together what we went over. But yeah, I know we covered that before, and it's kind of redundant of what they already do. But yeah, a lot of this stuff, in my opinion, is, go ahead, Jay, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, that's pretty broad, sweeping legislation they're introducing, isn't it?
Very much.
Terrible.
Very much. And, just touching on that last one about the mandates and protocols for retailers. So part of that goes to your safe storage definition. They changed it. Now it's going to be a secured and a locked container. At a minimum, the container must be capable of being unlocked only by the means of a key combination or similar means. And here's the catch, must be able to deter all but the most persistent from gaining access. I actually have that in the bill. Well, that's pretty broad and open-ended. Anyone who, I can break in about anything if I'm pretty persistent. And then it also says a room or a store capable of being locked and surveilled is insufficient. So that pretty much eliminates every single retail FFL. Go look at the FFL dealers, whether it be Shields or Mandan Sporting Goods or any of those in Bismarck. They all have a secured building. Most of them have bars on their windows, basically making them secure, because that's an FFL requirement from ATF. Now, retailers have to comply with this same broad, open-ended, safe storage of every single firearm, and a room or building don't count. So what? They're going to have to take every single gun that they have in their store and put it in a separate place now in its own separate lock. That's insane.
What do you think happens if they don't follow these rules to the T, Clay?
Oh, I'm pretty sure they're going to be in big trouble. In fact, they had, I said we could spend the whole half hour on this, but they have some things on there, and everything's going to be now, rather than by an FFL compliance type thing, it's all going to be done by their state police. They're even making a new commission. They're going all out, and the basis of this bill is to completely eliminate the Second Amendment. I have no doubt that's what this is about.
Yeah. So what happens to a president's kid when he breaks gun laws?
Oh, you're good to go then.
You buy one when you're doing cracking and throw it in the dumpster when you're done with it, man. You're good.
You're good to go.
I was just going to say that kind of leads us into, because I really found this interesting, into the second topic, because you made a good point earlier that if they're going to eliminate the safety for kids that are into, you go and you get your hunter safety course at around 12 or so. If you're illegal to use or at least train on a gun, well, that's going to dissuade, of course, your younger hunters, the younger kids, to go out and hunt or do anything like that, I suppose, at least target practice anyway. And so they're going to have to pick it up at 15 or 18 years old, and a lot of them are going to be chasing girls at that time. No time for that. But this new survey reveals that public approval for hunting has dropped among the youth, primarily minorities and suburbanites. Now, Clay, obviously, we just got done talking about a lot of these lawmakers that are trying to eliminate gun ownership for younger kids. But what do you think is attributing to the drop in the approval?
Well, I think you got a few things there. So many people are disconnected today from rural life. They live in an urban setting. So you're in them urban settings, hunting's not there. And the kids themselves, especially in the schools, it's not put out there at all. We still do have a junior rifle club. We've got archery in the schools, which has helped. But I can tell you right now, that in most of them urban city schools, there's nothing there. I don't know about even Bismarck. Jamie might be able to know a little bit more about that, but there isn't even much going on in what I would consider small cities anymore as far as gun safety classes or even the promotion of firearm safety and hunting. So that's a huge thing, and you're seeing it. When you look at those young people, they either have no opinion or they have a negative opinion because that's all they're influenced by. And it isn't like out here where my kids have been out there since they've been old enough to go with me. So
yeah, and I like Jay was saying, the approval rating of legal hunting, it's not just that, it's hunting, fishing, target sport shooting, trapping. It has dropped 4 percentage points since the last time they did this study, which was in 2019. And if some people don't think that's that much, well, each one of these percentage points represents 2.5 million people. So that's 10 million people who are now disapproving of it. And, you know, like Clay said, the blacks and the Hispanics are the lowest, actually. Blacks are second. These people are mostly suburbanites. And, you know, I know a lot of teachers and a lot of these kids move here and they don't like hunting because they just grew up. They think it's cruelty to animals. And like when there's a mountain lion in town and they don't understand why you just can't tranquilize it and go turn it loose somewhere else. You know, they're just uneducated about it. And that's unfortunate.
I'll add a little bit to that. And so I went and looked at some of the other numbers on these from other polls that have been done, different groups. And in defense, minorities have always had a lower percentage. So when they mentioned that in this article, it's nothing new. It's always been. And, you know, it could be demographics of where they live. I don't know what the reasoning is for that. I can tell you that the native population down here, that wouldn't be the case. I'm really good friends with the game warden for Standing Rock, and he's been hunting either legally or illegally since he was a kid. As he says, they couldn't catch me, so I became an officer.
Oh, funny.
Heck of a good guy. But, you know, I can tell you right now, like, I live within the reservation. That isn't the case with this population. But, you know, with the other places, I can't tell you why, other than the fact that it's always been lower. So that was nothing new. But when you look at the other side of it, that younger generation, I think part of it, these things have had a huge influence. Cell phones. I mean, all I see is kids on them. They don't even talk to each other physically. They text each other and they can be standing by each other. The disconnect from the real world's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's probably a lot to attribute to these numbers.
And again, too, the one with target shooting, I don't understand that. I mean, if you want people to be safer, more proficient with their firearms, why would you be against that? I mean, only thing I can think of is a lot of these inner city people, they just don't like guns because they're shooting, you know, all the shootings that happen there. But in my case, if I was there and that was happening, I would want one for my own protection, you know. Some of these numbers in here were kind of weird. So they got the survey drilled into public attitudes about methods and motivations. And hunting either to protect humans from harm or for wildlife management purposes had the highest approval rating at 78% and 77%. Hunting for meat, which, you know, you always get the meat hunters, 75% approval. I guess I don't think these are that low, really, but they are going down. And the guy says later, this isn't just a one-time deal. We do have reason for concern. But where does he go on here for that was down? Yeah, okay. It was 84% in 2019, down to 75. And hunting to get, because we always got the organic stuff, you know, hunting to get locally sourced food, organic meat. That approval went down 11 to 14 percentage points from 2019, and they got the kind of animals here to hunt too, which was good. The highest species approval was 70% was for deer and 69 for turkey. I've never hunted turkey actually, but yeah, the ones they didn't like, which were barely over 55, rabbits, ducks, squirrels, elk, alligator, all had approval ratings over 55. But the ones they didn't really like here with big disapproval: black bear, dove, grizzly, wolf, and mountain lions. How many bear stories have we had on here, Jay? Right, talking about bears.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and you know, you look at those demographics. The Midwest comes in at 80%, the West at 74%, the South at 78%, and the Northeast at 75%. Not horrible, right? Like I said, they've been dropping, and the Midwest is the highest, which should be actually, I'm surprised it's not higher, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, 82% is pretty good favorability, Clay, you know.
It is, but where we live, it should be almost
Yeah.
100.
I agree. It should. 70, only 3% of New Englanders approve of shooting over there, actually. Which
Yeah.
I actually thought that was kind of a high number for out in that area.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, it is. But, and then you look at the actual, like, shooting. Everything's included in this: fishing, shooting, recreational shooting.
yeah, there was like
that.
5% disapproval of fishing. I was thinking when the people
Yeah.
came to Bismarck, they wanted to ban the northern pike season, or like season. Well, there's no season.
There's
for
no
north.
season. It's just fish. Yeah.
Yeah.
But part of that, too, is look at the assault on meat in general. I mean, you've got corporations out there beyond meat. Really? I don't know if anyone's tried that. I forcefully did that. Horrible stuff. Horrible.
I did eat one from.
Oh.
I won't name the place I ate it from, but yeah, I tried it just because I had to do it. And
Was it
You know,
really
I
bad?
tried
to me, so it was really, really bad.
my experience wasn't as bad as Clay's was, Jay. I it definitely wasn't as good as meat, but I ate it and I was like, well, okay, it was.
My
I'm not
dog
gonna-
wouldn't even eat it. That's no kidding. He went up and he smelled it and walked away.
You know what kind of surprised me too? The support for trapping was actually 54%, and lowest in the West with 51. There's no way I thought it would be above 51% out west with the hippies out there.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I thought, of course, 54% for trapping here in the Midwest. I thought that was low for our area.
It is
You know.
actually, I think.
And yeah.
trapping's been under assault for many, many years. It's I don't trap myself. I always wanted to
No,
learn.
I
should
know.
go learn. I've snared a little bit, but I've never trapped.
My dad, man, when I was a kid, he made lots of money trapping coyotes and beavers and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I went with him all the time checking traps. It was nothing I was ever going to do myself, but so I never really absorbed much of it. But,
Well,
it
you
was
want to
always
see
fun.
how the effect that it's had is look at the price of furs. And a lot of your fur market was based on the fact that those big bad designers out east that are full of liberals were using those kinds of furs like coyote and thing for trim, and now they don't. They're using fake fur, and it's just devastated the fur market. It truly has, and you can tell that that's probably why trapping's going down too. Not
Yeah.
as many trapping because there's not as much money in it.
Well, and then if you stop hunting, you're going to get more animals coming into town, and particularly coyotes eating people's pets, which we've talked
Or
about.
deer.
And so what I was thinking of is I know North Dakota had a lot of protect fishing and hunting rights. So I looked it up right before the show. And as of January 2023, there's 23 states that have a right to hunt. Shockingly, Minnesota fish and hunt. Minnesota was one.
Yeah.
Montana, but Clay, your neighbor down there, right? Stone's throw away from you. No dice. No right to fish and hunt there in the Constitution.
They tried to pass it a couple times, and I don't understand why it didn't pass either. It's been tried a couple different times.
I mean, did it fail in the House or the Senate, or the governor didn't sign it, or what was it?
I can't even remember the legislative fight. It was so many years ago, and when it failed there, and like I said, I don't honestly remember the fight because it was so long ago. That's when they tried the constitutional amendment and the people themselves, and it failed. Not by much. That was a close vote, but both times. So either we have the eastern side of South Dakota, which we all know that east-west part in both Dakotas. is
Yeah,
different.
same up here.
But I living in both of these states my whole life, I can tell you it's way worse in South Dakota as far as that liberal mindset. It really is. And you got Vermilion and Sioux Falls, Brookings and Aberdeen. Those alone, just in that side of the state, they kind of dictate a lot of things in the rest of the state.
That attitude up here doesn't really hit till you get close to Fargo, in my opinion.
Correct.
So this guy is the researcher, Mr. Duda, says, we need to do more to reach out to urban people and blacks and Hispanics and talk to them about it. He might be right there, but I mean, how is somebody like myself going to have time to do that or go to some inner city?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like me going there and trying to tell them what to do with gang violence or something. I don't live there. I don't know anything about it, and I'm not going to try and tell them what to do. So I don't know how much that's going to work if you go tell a bunch of inner city people or these urban moms how it is to hunt. Hey, we need to hunt deer because of this. I mean, they see a little Bambi in their backyard and they're like, oh man, it's cute. And I do think deer are cute too, spawns and whatnot. But I don't know if you're going to ever convince these people. And if they want to try, go for it. But I'm not the guy to do it. I can tell you that.
We'll get Leon over there in Fargo. He'll help.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, Leon's pretty good. So you can explain some stuff for him. I like it. Yeah, he did.
Leon's a good guy.
Well, speaking of fawns in your backyard in Rawlins, now Wyoming, a herd of deer now are making themselves right at home inside of Rawlins. So much, in fact, that even one resident is practically a babysitter for that newborn fawn that was left on the doorstep. Quite extraordinary to have these wild animals cohabitate amongst humans now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not surprising, I guess. I mean, I've seen this in the Black Hills too. I think we know that the Mandan area and Bismarck area had an issue. So if I remember right, they do a bow season in the Bismarck Mandan area.
Yeah, down the south area up by the penitentiary.
So it's not new, but yeah, it's Rawlins native Alice Day. She said that she spotted something that she thought was a bundle of rags on her sidewalk outside of her fence. Well, when she finally walked up in closer observation, it was a fawn, and yet now here was something, a newborn fawn. It was still wet. Anybody that cabs around here, we know what that means. And that is actually, to me, you usually don't see that. Not in an urban area or even a town.
Mm-hmm.
So she basically had it right outside the fence. She tried to make sure that everything was good. The doe left and went to eat and feed, and it did come back that evening, and the fawn jumped up, took off, and went with its mother. But from what I understand here, they had some pretty bad winters and some bad weather back in the 80s, and the deer moved into town just as we see them moving in our farmsteads.
Mm-hmm.
Lemon, South Dakota, to the east or to the west of me here, 20 miles. They got a note. That's a resident mule deer herd. There's been some
really?
in there too. Yeah, they just hang around the outskirts of town, and they're not going to leave for the same reason. People think it's kind of cool, so they start feeding them. And you know what? Deer are going to be opportunists too. They're going to go where the food is easy and life is easy. So they hang around town. And that's what's happening in Rawlins, the way it sounds. Now, is it healthy? Like she says, I don't think it is because they don't have their normal diet. I can't tell you what the people are feeding them. I hope it's things like corn and alfalfa cubes, maybe, things that would actually be good. But if they're feeding them bad stuff, that's no good. So I don't know how healthy the herd is actually.
There's always, I've read a number of stories too. Like you get towards the rut, and if there's a buck, they will definitely attack people and get. There's videos.
They're still wild.
Yeah, they're still wild. Oh, what a nice buck! Or they come out and the buck, for whatever reason, when bucks are in rut, they're nuts. Man, they'll get you down. And Jay, I don't know if you noticed when you go over to Mandan, sometimes the big Mandan up on the hill, and there's a herd of antelope over there. If you ever saw them over there, I noticed them a lot more in the winter. And I go over there for my job a couple times a week, and I always look for them. I haven't seen them much this summer. Maybe it's just because the grass is high, but boy, how they got in there and they don't seem to leave. So it must be a pretty good spot for them to eat and then hang out, and nobody bugs them.
Well, similar to this story where they said a few years ago a herd of elk moved into their big hill where the R is on Rawlins as well.
Yeah, that's right. They did say that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever been to Rawlins. I know what they're talking about there. Yeah, that's just on the outskirts of town. And that would be a great place for the elk to just hang out for the winter. Nobody's probably bugging them. And elk
pasture.
Elk are kind of seclusion. They stay secluded anyway. They don't like to be around people. But so yeah, that'd probably work pretty good.
Yeah, cool. I don't
Very
want them
cool
in my
story.
Backyard, but
I have I planted some new grass in the yard, and right up against my house, I had to plant some new grass, and it's coming in really nicely. But every day I get up and water it in the morning before I come to work, I notice that there's a rabbit that's bedding down in that new grass every night. There's a spot about this big where that little rabbit is sitting down there. I let it be.
Pretty soon we'll have a whole bunch of rabbits.
I know.
Yeah. So I got a kick too out of that lady. She said she planted plastic flowers, and then she said the deer ripped them out because they were mad at her. I'm like, no, I don't think that. They probably ripped them out and chewed on them and spit them out.
They chewed on them and said, "What is this? It must be fake meat."
Yeah,
it's that beyond flowers.
Beyond flowers.
Beyond organics, right?
Yeah. Let's see. One more topic.
I was going to notice. I noticed that the police officers and the game wardens in that area have collaborated to do a little culling. Of course, that's
right.
People upset. And
maybe
they need to try something like a bow hunting season, and maybe that'll go over better.
Because you can't shoot your guns in town. So if they want, a bow will go. At close range. The thing about a bow, them arrows will go through, and if that thing skips on hard ground, that sucker's going to go another hunt. I don't want a broadhead hitting me.
Or it
No.
jumps the fence and dies in your neighbor's lawn.
Yeah.
That probably isn't going to be popular.
Oh man.
Well, if you do any golfing there at Riverwood Golf Course, there's always little does down there and little fawns and stuff as well. So it's.
I'd say, Jay, if anybody's listening, we're talking about fawns. I got a bunch of videos out of my hunting shack last week. 2 weeks ago, we finally started. We were worried about the mule deer. I finally started seeing them dropping fawns, and I got through my phone scope. It clips onto my spotting scope. I put one video up so far. She had twins, a muley doe. It's only like a 20-second video, but you can go on YouTube or our Facebook page and check it out. It's a pretty cool little video.
Check it out at Guns in the
You think deer
701.
fawns are cute? Yeah, Guns in the 701 on YouTube and Facebook. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I got a bunch more I'm going to put up. I just haven't got to it yet, so.
Right on. Well, I usually tell the deers just a Riverwood story real quick. The deer are always safe because they're right on the green whenever I tee off, and they'll never get hit. So they're perfectly fine.
The tree